Okay, so you know that feeling, right, when you hear like a scratching in your walls,
Yeah.
and you're just like, nope, not investigating that. If you've been sending us stuff about rodent control, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But today, we're going deep. We've got some insights from Freedom Wildlife Solutions and Pest Control. They're out in Clayton, North Carolina. They've got a website with a ton of info. We're going to sift through it and hopefully help you avoid any unwanted guests.
Yeah, we're talking about more than just the cute cartoon mice here. These creatures can be a serious risk to your health and your home.
Yeah, for sure. Their website doesn't like sugarcoat it at all. They talk about contaminated food, gnaw marks that can like weaken your whole house. They even mention fire hazards from chewed wires. I mean, I knew rodents were bad, but
Right.
fire hazard, that's a whole new level.
It's not just hype. Their teeth never stop growing, so they're constantly gnawing to keep them in check. And they love to nest in dark, hidden spaces, like in your walls or attic. That gnawing can cause some serious damage.
Okay, I am officially creeped out now. But you know what? This is helpful. Now I know what to look for. The website mentions droppings, gnaw marks, and those creepy noises as signs of an infestation.
Exactly. It's like those droppings aren't just gross, they're little red flags saying, hey, party's going on in here. And the sooner you see those flags, the better chance you have at stopping a full-blown infestation.
So let's talk about the usual suspects. The website has a whole rogues gallery of rodents, starting with the house mouse. These guys are like the ultimate survivors, right? They adapt to any environment.
And they reproduce so fast, like population explosion in weeks. A few mice can turn into a colony so fast. Early intervention is key.
Next up, the white-footed mouse. This one's scary for anyone in or near wooded areas because they can carry Lyme disease.
Yeah, these mice are a favorite snack for deer ticks, and those ticks are the main spreaders of Lyme disease. So it's not just about protecting your pantry anymore, it's about protecting your health.
And speaking of health risks, we've got the deer mouse and the dreaded hantavirus. Now, I know this sounds like a sci-fi movie, but it's a real threat.
Hantavirus is a serious respiratory illness, and it can be fatal. What's scary is it spreads through contact with their droppings. Even sweeping or vacuuming can kick up dust with the virus, making it airborne.
Okay, so we've covered the smaller guys. What about the heavy hitters? First up, the Norway rat. These guys are notorious for their burrowing skills, and you can probably guess where this is going.
Up straight to your foundation. They're not just digging little tunnels, they're tunneling under your house. This can create instability in the soil, leading to cracks, uneven floors, and in extreme cases, even collapses. You might see a crack in your basement and think it's settling, but it couldn't be rodents.
That is seriously unsettling. And last but not least, we have the roof rat. If you thought squirrels were good climbers, wait till you hear about these guys.
Imagine a tiny ninja scaling your walls,
Yeah.
getting into anything and everything. That's the roof rat. Incredibly agile. They can squeeze through the tiniest openings, making their way into your attic, walls, even upper floors.
So we've got these tiny ninjas and master burrowers. What's the best way to deal with them? Freedom Wildlife Solutions seems to have like a different approach than your typical pest control.
I'm glad you brought that up because their strategy is interesting. They have this three-pronged approach, and it really focuses on understanding the problem first.
Okay, so walk me through this. What's the first step?
It starts with what they call detailed rodent inspections. And they're not kidding about the detailed part. We're talking a full investigation of your property. Crawl space, attic, roof, even the perimeter of your house.
It makes sense, though, when you think about it. We were just talking about how sneaky these rodents can be. If you don't find those entry points, you're fighting a losing battle.
Exactly. It's like solving a mystery without all the clues. A thorough inspection helps them figure out what kind of rodents you have, how they're getting in, and how bad the problem is.
So once they've done their detective work, what's next?
That's where their tailored rodent treatment plans come in. It's not one size fits all. They customize the plan based on the type of rodent, the layout of your property, and how bad the infestation is.
That's smart. Because, like, house mouse is going to be attracted to different stuff than a roof rat, right?
Absolutely. Their behaviors are totally different. So the treatment plan might use a bunch of things. Traps, bait stations, exclusion methods. They might even modify the habitat to make your property less attractive to rodents.
Okay, so they find the entry points. They make a custom plan to get rid of the rodents. But then what? How do you stop them from coming back?
That's the third piece. Rodent prevention and exclusion. This is all about being proactive, taking steps to seal up those entry points and making your home less inviting in the future.
It's like they say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. But let's be real, these rodents are persistent. How do you actually keep them out?
Freedom Wildlife Solutions takes it seriously. They talk about using heavy-duty materials, like steel mesh, to seal up gaps and cracks. They even mention trimming tree branches that overhang your roof, which can be like a rodent highway to your attic. They're not messing around.
I'm starting to think these guys are like the Navy SEALs of pest control.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to see a company take such a thorough approach. It shows they're committed to actually solving the problem, not just masking it.
I agree. They seem to understand that rodent control is ongoing. It's not just about getting rid of the current infestation, it's about preventing future ones.
Speaking of real-world experiences, the website has some testimonials from customers. I always find those really helpful because it's one thing to hear a company talk about their services. It's another to hear from actual people who have dealt with the problem.
Testimonials can be super insightful, like getting a behind-the-scenes look at how these solutions work in practice.
Exactly. So let's dive into a few of these. One customer, Aaron, talked about having recurring issues with both mice and rats in their crawl space and attic. They couldn't figure out where they were coming from, which honestly sounds like a nightmare.
It really shows how important that detailed inspection process is. Sometimes those entry points can be so subtle, easy to miss.
Well, Aaron was impressed with how thorough Freedom Wildlife Solutions was. They checked everything, like everything. They even gave a detailed overview of all the entry points and a quote for sealing them up.
That level of transparency is awesome. It lets the homeowner understand the problem and make informed decisions.
Another customer, Farah, mentioned how hard it was to find a company that actually offered exclusion services. A lot of companies just seem to focus on trapping or poisoning, which can feel like a never-ending cycle.
You're right. Trapping and poisoning might give you temporary relief, but if you don't seal the entry points, they'll just come back.
Well, Farah was thrilled to find a company that took a proactive approach, sealing those entry points to prevent future problems. And another customer, Jeannie, praised the True for their professionalism and friendliness. Seems like they really value customer service, which can make a stressful situation a bit easier.
Definitely a plus. It shows they care about their clients and want to make the process as smooth as possible.
So thinking about your own situation, what's going through your mind right now? What stood out as the biggest risk? Or the most surprising fact?
Yeah, it really makes you think, right? Even if you haven't seen any rodents yet, you gotta think. Is your property like accidentally inviting them in?
That's a good point. We've all heard those horror stories, right? About people finding those huge nests in their attic or basement. So what can people do to make their homes less attractive to rodents?
Well, first, think about food sources. Are you storing your pet food in airtight containers? Is your garbage sealed up tight? Even little crumbs and spills can be a feast for these guys.
So step one, don't run an all-you-can-eat buffet for rodents. Got it. What else?
Next, walk around your property. Look for entry points. Remember those tiny ninjas? They can squeeze through anything. Seal up those gaps and cracks with caulk or steel wool. That'll help.
That makes sense. And the website mentioned clutter too, right?
Oh yeah, clutter is like a rodent paradise. It gives them hiding places. And nesting material. Keep things tidy. Inside and outside, you're not just cleaning, you're taking away their potential homes.
So mindful of food sources, seal up entry points, minimize clutter. Sounds like a plan.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you've done all that and you still think you might have a rodent problem?
Honestly, call the pros. I know it's tempting to DIY it, but these guys are professionals for a reason. They have the experience, the knowledge, and the right tools to deal with it safely.
And based on what we saw, Freedom Wildlife Solutions seems like a solid choice, especially if you want a company that takes a preventative approach.
For sure. They seem to go above and beyond, to not just solve the problem, but help you stop it from happening again.
All right, well, there you have it. Rodent control. It's more than just setting traps. It's about being proactive, understanding the enemy, and taking steps to protect your home from these tiny invaders. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of rodent control.
It's been fun. Remember, folks, knowledge is power. And a little prevention goes a long way in keeping your home rodent-free